decided to do a YouTube video trying to explain the basics of routing and essentially why you need to do routing. So I said I would probably be able to try to explain it in such a way that the layman can understand it. But it's going to be, it's going to still have IP addresses, so it may be a little bit confusing, but I'm hoping to make it as simple as possible. So let's get to the whiteboard and I'll try to explain the basics. Alright, so typically I should start with explaining how we get to the internet. Essentially, you have a computer at home. So computer A. You have a router. Computer A passes through your router, and your router connects to the internet. Alright, okay. So let's say you also have a computer B. Alright, actually let's talk about the LAN first. So let's say computer A is connected to the router and there's also a computer B connected. Right, so both of these are accessible to the internet. And of course, both of them should be able to communicate with each other as long as they are on the same subnet. So I'll try to explain subnet in a little bit. Essentially, let's say that computer A is here. So let's write back computer A. And let's say computer B is here. For all intents and purposes, and this is just to simplify networking a little bit, in order for computer A to speak to computer B and computer B to speak to computer A, of course they have to be connected somehow, and we are assuming that was connected by the router / switch, right? So let's say that they are able to communicate. The assumption is made that the IP address, let's say we have an IP address of 192.168.1. Let's call this 3. 192.168. They must be on the same subnet. Now you may wonder, what does that mean? Well, as I said, to make it very simple, I call this the first three numbers the same. As long as those 3 numbers are the same, they should, I mean, this is being simple here, they should be able to communicate. And that is, of course, there's another assumption that we have to make here, and that is that the subnet is 255.255.255.0, which is the standard subnet for internal network. Now, again, to simplify it, I try to remember it as this. If you have 255.255.255 here, that signifies that these 3 must be the same. And you notice it here as well, 255.255. This needs to be the same, and this needs to match this in order for them to communicate. Which brings me to the other question. And this is how I'll explain it. If computer B was on the network 192.168, instead of .1 we put a 2 here, they would not be able to communicate. And the reason is, as I said, based on the subnet. So the you just need to remember that 255.255.255, that these addresses need to be the same. So this have to be 1 and this have to be 1, and all the rest have to match each other except for the last. So the 0 means that these could change. The 0 means that these could change and they could still communicate with each other. That's how I try to make it simple. Alright, so the question now would become, what if this was really 2 here? What if this IP address was really 2? How would these computers work? How would they be able to communicate? Well, obviously they wouldn't, because of the subnets forcing them. So this would force this to be on a different subnet to this. And this is where routing comes in. Routing essentially allows you to join two dissimilar networks, two different networks. So in order for computer A to communicate with computer B on these different networks, you'd have to have a router. And what the router would do is the router would have two interfaces. It would have an interface that is on this subnet, which is the 192.168.1 subnet, and also interface on 192.168.2 subnet. So let's assume that the router has an interface here of 192.168.1.10. And let's also assume that the router also has another interface 168.2.10. Right. So have to erase something here. So we need to signify here that communication is not possible between A and B. So let's take off this arrow. Good. So it's not possible between A and B. Now, typically in Windows asks you for these settings. This is your IP. This is your subnet mask. And then it also asks you for your gateway, and this is important. So in order for computer A, as I said, to communicate with computer B, it would need to pass through the router. So essentially this is what would happen. And of course the same way back to there. And in order for computer A to reach computer B by using the router, you would have to set the gateway as the router. So the gateway would have to be, you see the same interface, 192.168.1. The gateway would have to obviously be 192.168.1.10. And that means that computer A would jump the gateway if as long as it's not on the same network, the .1 network as I call it, it would jump to the gateway, and the gateway, which is the router, would forward the packets to computer B. And in the same way, computer B, in order to communicate with computer A, would have to pass through the interface 192.168.2.10. Now this is a really simple way of explaining routing, but you would have to go through this video a few times to understand where I'm coming from. So I hope this helped a little bit, and please stay tuned for more videos, and subscribe to the channel, and see you again soon.